Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI Live Noding. In this episode, I'm going to do a little bit of explorations of Sverchok and how we could create shapes of sushi. Okay, sushi is a Japanese food that it's designed in such a way so all these like a small foods combined together. So it looks like a simple roll that you can just eat, you know. But if you study shape of sushi, like some of them shapes just like cylinder, the seaweed make just kind of wrapping the rice, and then you have this one that's a little bit like more geometric. This is actually quite interesting if you try to recreate procedurally, and I don't know, this kind of shape a little bit more organic. But I'm interested basically with the sushi roll and kind of the arrangement of the sushi. um, I think each one of them kind of represents like an item that you can create procedurally. And this is okay, this is kind of like a dragon sushi, and then this is also interesting if you try to recreate it. I don't know, maybe at some points I really have to design this in Blender. This kind of arrangement, you see, it's like a 4 by 3 grid. There's a lot of variations you can make. This is a bun. Even a bun is like made up of layers. Okay, I don't know what it is. And then, yeah. Anyway, lots of inspirations. Maybe we can make that. Oh, actually, I was inspired by this work by Sage. This is like super stylized pixel artwork rendered in a low resolution, but it looks really nice. I really like this. Kind of inspired me to do this today. So you're just gonna explore that inside Sverchok. So just maybe like a cube and this kind of cylinder circle being extruded. Maybe, I don't know. Let's try. File save as sushi logic. Compositing new. We could start with a plane or a box. Okay, we know the fact that with box we can already easily kind of make instance of box in random shapes. Say you have a single box like that, you can disturb the box very easily already. Randomize input vertices. This randomizing the box in all directions, or maybe just in X and Z. This easily creates something that looks like a tofu. If we bake it, remember that if we bake it out, we can always smooth it. So this looks something that looks like a rice already. But this guy cannot be scaled in a. We cannot elongate it, the box, unfortunately. So, but we can use the matrix in, and use the vector for the scale, and just elongate it in maybe in the x-axis or something like that. If we make it less, so it's now like this looks like that. If we bake it, if we smooth it, so that's kind of looking like a rice, right? Like a rice. You just need to give it like a maki, like the nori, the seaweed part, kind of. But maybe we're not gonna use box. We can use something that's a little bit more basics. We can use plane. Plane is used to create a grid. And this guy, now we have this option to center it out, so it's nice. And let's say if we want to make like stripes, we can do that. And if we elongate it, so it's looking like something like that. Okay, let's quit this sort of, and then we know the fact that we can use polygon boom. With polygon boom we can separate this guy into its separate parts. Let's see, I think it's already separated, so if I use like a matrix in and scale, vector in, they're actually separated objects. Let's see if I bake it out. So each one of them is a separate polygon. So we can use that at some point. If you want to scale it on its center, I think you can use scale. Sometimes this is just a little bit tricky. Separate. Do we need to separate it? I don't know. Factor center. Okay, for the center we need to use maybe the bounding box or face center. Center polygons. We have a lot of nodes already, and instead of cover the basics and combining all of them, you should be able to do a lot of stuff already. So you can make that quite easily, and it's all still procedural. See, now we have like 15 kind of plane, and we can of course extrude it up, extrude separate faces. If we plug in the polygon this guy into this guy and then extrude it. So that's kind of extrusion of multiple faces, kind of the hard way, but it's kind of interesting in itself. Probably we're not really creating a sushi, but more like a chocolate pieces. Maybe like a Kit Kat chocolate. But anyway, the point is here, the interesting bits is like you can always go anywhere and then just add your like nodes that's kind of changing the shape of this guy. So we start with a plane. As you know, the plane is just a plane, but if you disturb it with a randomized input vertices, for example, in the X and in the Y, so we start to get something that's looking like a Voronoi kind of shape, more or less. I don't know how this works, but that's actually can be quite interesting. You can also use noise and fractal. So if we use fractal, actually fractal noise is probably nicer. Fractal noise. Plug this guy in, plug that guy in. What do we get? We have some kind of crumpled objects. That's because we can to use this properly. I think we can use vector math, combining the original and then the noise itself, just adding them together. So now slightly more controllable noise. Oh yeah, the bottom part is kind of hollow, so that's the only thing about polygon extrusions in Sverchok. It's actually quite common. Extrusion is actually making a hole. You just need to combine it with the original shape, if that's what you want, because the original shape is still there. You just need to bake it and combine it. Okay, maybe not this guy, but the one after this guy. So if we make that one, so we have the top part and then bottom part. It's kind of creating totally something else here. Let's get back to our plan to make this the sushi roll. So I know the fact that a plane can actually create some kind of like a seaweed if we just extrude it, extrude separate faces and kind of grabbing the side. I'll show you real quick. So if we extrude the object, it looks like that, and then it's hollow at the bottom. But if you just get the extruded poly, or actually the other polygon, see we have this kind of like a container of the sushi. If we actually smooth it, so that can kind of generate the seaweed part. So in a way, maybe this thing is not that complicated after all. So if we bake that as well and then kind of smooth it, we have kind of the rice. That's one way we can approach it, of course. For the rice itself, if you wanna more details, each one can be, we can use these points and then kind of generating shapes of rice. That can be later. We need to probably use particles for that, or instancer, because it's going to be a lot faster that way. So for this roll, it should be kind of pretty easy. The one that's kind of rolling, like actually more like circle, we probably can use like a circle itself. I don't know, we need to create some kind of ring. So I don't think we can create ring unless we use extrusion here, extrude edges. We used this node in the previous live noding. So this guy, if we provide a vertices into the matrix, you can get this kind of ring shapes. Let me check if I bake it out. So that's that's kind of interesting in itself. If we go to edit mode and go to face, so this guy is connected like that. It's almost like if you want to make like a cone. So that can be really handy as well. And remember, this is also procedural, so this is you can easily create this kind of shapes, maybe 4 shapes. If I'm not wrong, one of these can actually just output the new faces. See, we just get the ring this way, and if we use the extrude separate faces, we should get this kind of shape. Although of course they're all kind of separated, right? Unless you actually use remove double. I think remove double might actually works. Remove doubles, distance, vertices, polygon edge, combine all together, see what you get. I think it's already combined, so oh, actually it's not like it's not perfect, but kind of trying to do that. Maybe we have some kind of surface inside it. Yeah, that's the only problem. So that's not exactly perfect, but that's something to start with. I don't know if we increase the distance, maybe doubles. What is this double? That's what's causing the double. Maybe we can mask it out. I don't know. That's a big question. So this height, okay, that's the scale. Scale we don't want to change. The height we can change. Fake it out. Still, this won't be perfect. But this is also creating an interesting looking shape, although the bottom part, if we go to edit mode, maybe if we delete this bit, perhaps in Sverchok also we can kind of just mask this bit out, and then so it's much cleaner, and you have a proper kind of ring kind of shape. And this is can be for, I don't know, it's a interesting looking shape. If we cover the bottom part, we get this kind of plate, like a kind of like a ball kind of shape. So that's again, it's another interesting thing I just figure out along the way. And then of course, the take on this is that you can easily kind of make multiple of this object. Again, I'm doing this. It's kind of like just random explorations. However, if you're doing this, you kind of start to think about how you can create objects, like all kind of different objects. And then here, see, they're all the same shapes, but if you start to put in like random number, plug it into the radius, for example, now you have different size of objects. You can randomize the seed. That's yeah, that's one way you can play around with it. You can also kind of randomize the shape a little bit using noise or fractal. That's also something to consider. So that's one shape you can generate. And same with this guy. If we make it less random, maybe remove the noise for now. Back to our kind of chocolate shape. We could use again like this matrix. Plug into this guy. Oh, by the way, there's something interesting in Sverchok. There's something new that you can just plug in vertices into matrix to generate the transform. This is quite new. Normally you need to use a matrix in, but just in case you just, okay, you're being lazy, or just for simplicity you just plug in the vertices into the matrix. It knows it's using the points location for the location, so it's the same as doing this. So that's can be pretty handy. I think I'm already creating weird things there. Maybe we don't need to do the center polygon and scale and extrude. In fact, if you just plugging in a plane into this guy, and here we have like 3x3 matrix, you have this kind of design already. And this is pretty interesting, you know. You can use extrude separate faces, and polygons, and you have a bunch of Kit Kat chocolate, maybe 2x2 or 4, something like that. Give it a chocolate color. So by accident we made this kind of procedural chocolate Kit Kat, and also this donut ring. So yeah, I was planning to make some kind of sushi, but the sushi I realized uh, it's a little bit simplistic, but I think we can actually generate we can actually try to create the blocks and the bottom parts, and then I think it's possible to create this all procedurally, and then each one of them can become a monad. I just think it's a little bit too simplistic, so of course we can use what we have here to generate this thing, but we end up with some kind of donuts and other objects creations here. The funny thing, okay, again, the funny thing with this guy is with the extrude separate, we get this extra bit of faces that I think if we actually mask it out, and then after we mask it out and then we cover the hole, we can have like a proper donut shape. Donut shape, maybe you can create also using a cylinder in Sverchok, but this is, with this you have more control. So but of course for the donut shape, we have like a torus already. If you don't, so Sverchok torus is probably coming soon. So yeah, I think it's basically an exploration of shapes and procedural creation here. Remember that for a single object you can always kind of randomize it somewhat, just randomize the scale, or here in this case with the chocolate you can randomize the shape using if you want to randomize all the points, or you can randomize the original plane. You have that kind of freedom. Oh, by the way, with this donut thing, maybe if you want to move it to the side, you can use matrix deform. So I'm using some of the Sverchok basics, basic nodes, basically getting more familiar with the matrix and the vector and all those funky stuff. Center separate. Okay, center doesn't seem to work here. Oh, because of it's not connected. Ah, there we go. View, top view. We end up with something that's totally not like sushi, but more like sweets, junk food. And with the variations here, by the way, with this random, you notice that each one of them is more or less the same. They're actually the same, but you can also use a range integer and plug that in, and depending how many you have, how many chocolate, 9. So you can have like a 9 random chocolate. Okay, so that's pretty much it with these explorations of junk foods and sushi. I'll create like a proper sushi maybe later. Like even the bottom part, the wooden part, is actually nice to create procedurally. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this live noding. Hopefully this is kind of useful. This is actually more like a basic concepts, but yeah, I guess if you have any question, just let me know. This should be all useful if you just started using Sverchok and Blender. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.